Hello everybody, this is Diane. Today I would like to show you the finished journals that I made with a file folder and antique sheet music cover with the gorgeous images that they have. So I have several videos previous to this one where I constructed the covers, and then another one where I did the inside covers so that you would see how I decorated the outside and then reinforced the spine and everything on the inside in the second video. And I also have a video where I made the ephemera, much of the ephemera, and another video where I decorated the pages. So I wanted to take you with me for a lot of the process on these. I think you pretty much saw everything that I put into these. There might be a few pieces of ephemera that I added. But I think pretty much you saw everything. So now let's see the finished product. And please stay tuned because I have a little special surprise at the end where I will be offering something in my shop that kind of correlates with these. If you wanted to make your own, I have a little something that I will be putting in my shop to help you along with that. So this is the smaller one. It is 6 inches by 8 inches. And this was the gorgeous image on the sheet music, and the song is called Stolen Hours. So I just cut this image out right with the frame. This was just how it was on the sheet music, and then I just added this digital for a little pop of color there. There is seam binding, there are eyelets and seam binding, and I put a forget-me-not patterned napkin on the spine, and this is all Mod Podged, and then a piece of the music itself on the back. I just inked around the edges of the folder. Inside I left the folder plain. I liked the way the manila looked, and I added a vintage sheet to the inside spine, and in addition to that there is a piece of Tyvek underneath that. So this manila folder should hold up quite well. I have some ephemera pieces, probably from Tsunami Rose and the Old Design Shop, and I won't be able to tell you which is which. I know I just have this big collection of digital ephemera that I have printed and cut out, and I just draw on it and use it from time to time. So there will be quite a bit of those pieces in here. These are 2 of those digital ephemera pieces, and I've inked them so they're not so white. And then this is part of the ephemera that I made in one of the videos, and it's just a coffee dyed scrapbook paper that I stamped on and added some fuzzy fiber. This is coffee dyed scrapbook paper with an avocado dyed guest check and another digital rose print, fussy cut, I mean. I will link. There are also 2 sources where I got my digital flowers, and I will link those. One of those is Tsunami Rose. She no longer has an Etsy shop. She has her own website, tsunamirose.net, and I will link that. And the other one is an Etsy seller that I can't pronounce, but I will link hers also. This tab is actually a Tim Holtz piece. It's cardboard, but it's got this metallic layer on it, and it looks aged, and it's imprinted. You can feel it. It's embossed. It's imprinted with numbers and letters and symbols. This one has some symbols on it, and I just folded it in half and glued it on as a tab. Here's a pocket made with a scrap of coffee dyed paper and one of the pieces of ephemera, and these are both trifold cutoffs of coffee dyed paper. I stamped on that one and edge punched that one. So I tried to put lots and lots of pieces in the pockets and tuck spots because it's just so much fun to have lots of pieces to play with and write on and do whatever you want. This is a piece of tracing paper that I coffee dyed and just tore, so the edges are rough. And then I just made a little tiny collage with a piece of vintage sheet music, a little bit of lace, and this heart that was cut from a trim piece. This is a vintage ledger, and it was quite long. quite wide, so this is the width of one page, but I pulled it out as a folio, so the other side of that page is connected. So you'll get two pieces like this. I love that it's got the numbers on it and little lines up there. I think it's cool. Here's a coffee dyed glassine bag. It was a white bag, and I sewed it in as a page, and I added these two pieces of really gorgeous lace trim. Inside the pocket, I had stamped this toile stamp onto coffee dyed tracing paper, and I tore it out, and then I had this other piece of dyed paper. I'm not sure what it was dyed with. I received it with some other dyed papers that I had purchased. She sent me a packet of samples of other dyed papers that she makes. So I just tore that also and folded it in half and added that to it. This is a piece of real vintage ephemera. It's from 1935, and it's a receipt for Banfield Jennings Corporation, the Live Store, bulbs, lawn, garden, flower, and field seeds. They purchased 2 crates of berry baskets. They're in Elmira, New York, July 22nd, 1935. Guess what today is? Today is July, as I'm filming this, it's July 22nd, 2020. That's cool. Another piece of coffee dyed scrapbook paper with a little piece of lace stapled to the top. This is just cut into a tag shape. And then another piece of vintage ephemera. This is from 1971, not quite so old. I know him. Oh my goodness. I'm not even sure where I got this paper, but his daughter is my sister-in-law. She married my brother, and they lived in Milan, Pennsylvania. I wonder if I should give this to her. I think I'm going to put a different piece of ephemera. She might have given this to me because she gave me some stuff from her. Yeah, I think she gave it to me. That's pretty cool. They bought a Maytag dryer in 1971. I didn't even notice that. I'll leave it in there because I think she gave it to me. She cleaned out stuff a few years ago and just gave me some stuff like fabrics and trims and stuff. This is a book page. This is a children's book page that I put gesso on, so you can write on it even though you can still see the type from the book. You can still write on it and it won't interfere. And I made this heart just cutting it out of coffee dyed floral paper. There's a coffee dyed doily here. This is a piece of really, really gorgeous wallpaper. It's vintage. I don't know how old it is. This is the wallpaper. We found several patterns of wallpaper in a closet in my daughter's house when we cleaned out her spare room. She knew it was there, but when we cleaned it out, she said it was time to get rid of it, so I took it. I love it. And as I said in yesterday's video, I have put together some bundles of this wallpaper, this and a few other patterns. So I'm hoping to get them in the shop today. Today is Wednesday, so hopefully they're already in the shop. This video will go up on Friday. A piece of scrapbook paper, and this is one of the embellishments that I made. It's just a book page punched out with my scallop punch and a rusty safety pin with a piece of lace, and there's some cheesecloth behind it. There is a vintage German airmail envelope. There's no letter inside. Somebody gave me a bunch of these in Happy Mail. I can't read the date. It might be 1960. I think it's April 28th, 1960, but I'm not sure what all that means. But anyway, it is a really neat airmail envelope. You could put something inside it, a little secret journaling perhaps, and it does fit in there. I've put it in there several times, so I don't know why I'm struggling with it now. And these are also made with copy dyed paper. I stamped on that and added some lace. And this is a copy dyed index card that I just folded in half and stamped. In the center, there is a page from a black and white illustrated book of the history of jewelry. So I love the way these illustrations look. I'm not sure what I'll do here. I think I'll just tie these in a bow, and then if you want to add something to the ends or just cut them shorter, I don't know, but I'll just leave it like that for now. Here I just added a little vintage ticket. This was, I think this was a milk ticket for school. And there's one of the Tim Holtz flowers from his botanical ephemera packs. This is a pocket made from a copy dyed craft paper. And there's a little scrap of music paper, and this is a vintage gift tag that I glued on there. Some of the digital ephemera. This is from a vintage doily book, a tatting book, and I glued it to copy dyed paper. And here is a copy dyed, what do you call these? Where you punch your card, fill out your time card. It's a copy dyed time card that I cut in half, and I cut it with pinking shears, and I glued on this piece of very old and fragile wallpaper. There's a bulb pin, there's a little eyelet with a bulb pin and a little scrap of crocheted lace and a tag stamped with the word Vintage Finds words. There's that wallpaper and the doily. Here's the gessoed book page, and this one just has music paper punched out in a flower shape, glued on it. The back side of the gift of the coffee dyed bag, and this has just a sheet of note paper and this vintage piece. Oh, I was going to tie some, the tie came off it. It had a bright yellow tie, but only a scrap of it was left. So I'm going to add a piece of, silk ribbon that I have. It only ties through the front and the first page, and these aren't attached, but there's signatures on the back. So a group of people sent this card of well wishes to someone. I'll leave that right there so I remember that I need to do something with it, but I don't want to forget where it goes. Another of the Tim Holtz pieces. Here's the other side of that old ledger, and there's a copy dyed envelope, paper clip to it, and I just did some stamping on it. And inside, this is a printable ledger sheet. It's got a tear in it, which just makes it look genuine. And this is just a scrap of copy dyed scrapbook paper that you can write on. It has a teardrop paper clip holding it on there. There's the tracing paper, and I used a piece of torn tracing paper that's been copy dyed and just made a little pocket here. It is torn on this edge. I added this little bit of daisy trim, which is so cute and dainty. And inside the pocket, I included this jar. I die cut the jar off with a copy dyed paper and then stamped my Tiffany & Company stamp on it and tied this string around it. I got that idea from Angie Bunner. And here is, I got a lot of these ideas from Angie Bunner. This journal is inspired by her. A calling card, which is a printable, and just a piece of lace stapled on there. And then a little tiny envelope, little brown one. And it's just a little, it's a 2x2 envelope. So the paper inside is smaller than that, but isn't it pretty? just a little scrap, and it was just so pretty I didn't want to throw it away. But you can write something on the back of it. And then on the back cover, there was printing here on the file folder, so I just did a little collage to cover that up. There's vintage music paper, vintage stamps, and another Tim Holtz botanical piece, and this little piece that I had die cut and stamped. This is a glassine bag with embossing on it. I put that through my Big Shot with an embossing folder. I folded it up to make a pocket and sewed down both sides. And there's a little scrap of lace and a bulb pin and a little tag. In the back, I just put one of my wallpaper tags. A piece of printable ephemera goes in the pocket. This is just a scrapbook piece that goes in there. And in the front pocket is another coffee dyed piece that I put on some eyelash trim and music that has the flower punched out. You saw the flower glued onto a different page. So that is the journal. This is the smaller one. And then we have two other ones. I can go through them more quickly because they all have the same elements, but all different pictures and whatnot. I think this one's my favorite because the cover of the sheet music was more plain. It didn't have an illustration on the front, but it's so pretty. And I added this pink die cut or fussy cut rose, which just makes the cover. So I think this one is my favorite. Napkin again, and then this was the back of this, and they were advertising another piece of sheet music that you could purchase. They often put on the backs of the music the first page of another song that you can try the first page on your piano, and if you like it, you could order it or go purchase it somewhere. There's some pink seam binding. Oh, I didn't mention that I used real vintage cellophane on this first page. These are cellophane pieces that I took off either my German textbook that I just got at a flea market. There was lots of cellophane tape on the cover of that. They taped the covers to the spine because it was falling apart. And some of the cellophane came from the pieces of sheet music that were just falling apart. So I cut little pieces of my cellophane that I've saved and glued it on there. This one has a brown bag. There's the stamp that is adhered to a yellow paper. This is a vintage sheet where you could order records. Somebody marked it up. I think I probably found this in a magazine or something, but it's pretty old. I don't know the date. I don't see any date on it. Oh, 1954. It is pretty old. It's pretty cool though. And there's another tag that I made. This is digital. There's another vintage gift tag. You would attach that to a gift you were giving. This is a digital envelope that I had left over from a project, and there's a little card inside that matches. It's raining. I can hear rain. We need it. My grass was crunchy. It did rain quite hard last evening. So yay, we're getting some rain. There's some more of that gorgeous yellow rose wallpaper. This one I know came from that Etsy shop that I can't pronounce. I wish I knew how to say her name because I love her digitals. They're very shabby chic. This is a vintage Parchment birthday card, but I love the pink and turquoise. And it opens up. You could write on that if you want to. And again, that piece of note paper. Inside this envelope, I stamped them pretty much all the same, I think, is a piece of paper from 1887. It's a handwritten receipt for rent, $10. This is a digital, and this is a scrapbook paper, but it's quite big. You can write a lot on that. There's the digital calling card and the Tiffany & Company jar. And on the back, now this is the one that the bag was torn at the back, so I did not leave that loose. I glued it down so it wouldn't tear further. So this one only has 2 pockets, but I put one of my tags in there, stamped with the words Vintage Finds. And this piece of ephemera, which is a handwritten receipt. No date on it. And then a couple printable tickets. This probably came from that same shop that I can't pronounce, because she has a lot of shabby chic stuff like that. And a couple of scraps of dyed paper. Oh, I didn't tell you the names of the books. They'll each have their own listing. This one is Stolen Hours. This one is Because. Why did I name it Because? Well, just because. Because I wanted to. And we have one more to look at, and then I'll show you my little surprise. This one is called One Fleeting Hour. It was such a soft, muted picture on the front. You can see a little house with smoke coming up from the chimney and these beautiful, beautiful flowers in the front. And I added this lady. I think she looks like she's part of the picture. I had sewn on the spine piece, and I didn't like the stitching right there, so I added this piece of lace. For the other ones, I just glued the fabric on the inside. This was the first one, and I was trying to figure out how I wanted to make them. There's the same napkin on the spine of that, and this is the first page of this music. There's white seam binding. These are both digitals. Again, the cellophane here. Here's another digital. Inside the bag here, it's another white one, is a letter dated 1958. The writing is very nice, and there's a nice letter in there. I read it. And a receipt for Platt's Motor Pyatt's Motor Service. I think the other one had a blue one, but it's $19.35 for 2 something of paint, 30 cents. Scrapbook paper and the little collage there with the rusty safety pin. This is digital. And these are both stamped. There's a little flower there. Matches the yellow roses on the wallpaper. There's another gorgeous little gift tag. The little envelope in this book is a little vellum one, and I just included a little piece of scrapbook paper. And again, the tatting, and I didn't put anything on the tag on the bulb pin. I'll have to do that. And in this bag is the note paper and a little gift card that was written on. It came out of a scrapbook, so it's got scrapbook paper on the back from the page, you know. But it's written on by someone named Catherine, but isn't it pretty? You could always, this is from 1947, so you might not want to cover it up, but you could always glue something on there so that you could write on. But it's just a nice piece of ephemera. I decided I better start using some of the vintage ephemera that I collect. There's another flower from the shop I can't pronounce. Starts with an I. Here's another vintage receipt from the same one in the other book, this from the same person, that is from the 1800s, so this is probably, oh, right there it says 89. I had gotten a bunch of his stuff. If you remember, it was in a little wooden cigar box. It had all these compartments built into it, and all of the papers were folded up like this and bundled together and tucked in there, so it's just a really sweet piece. This is a scrapbook paper that was coffee dyed and it was torn, but I liked that torn edge, so I left it just as it was and put it in the book, in the envelope. So there's a lot going on in these books, even though there's only one signature. I wanted to make sure you got a lot out of it. And on the back, there's the coffee dyed bag that's folded up as a pocket. The wallpaper gift wallpaper tag that I made. Here's a coffee dyed tag with a stamp. Scrap of coffee dyed scrapbook paper. And some printable tickets. So these journals are so fun. I love them so much. I hope you love them too. And this video will be seen on Friday. So I am going to list these journals on Saturday. I don't know the time. I'm going to say about 10, but I don't know if I'm going to have plans for Saturday. So if someone wants to do something or go somewhere with me or whatever, I'll put them in the shop before I go anywhere. But other than that, I'm going to say 10. Okay? 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now for the surprise. That's Saturday. Whatever. Today's Wednesday the 22nd, so whatever that makes Saturday. I'll write all that in the description. Here's the surprise. I made 2 bundles of extra ephemera. The same kinds of ephemera that were in the journals I just showed you. So I'm going to put these bundles in my shop along with the listings of the books. So they'll be separate. These are sold separately, but they'll go in my shop at the same time as the books. So I did some gessoed book pages, some of the coffee dyed tags that are just papers that are cut into tags and stapled with lace. Some are plain paper and stamped, but they are coffee dyed. I gave you a piece of the stamped tracing paper. This is one of the tatted doilies from that book, and I didn't glue it to anything on the back. You can do what you want. You'll probably want to trim all that white off of it. Coffee dyed doily, just a edge punched piece of paper, stamped paper, another stamped paper, this one with the flower cut out and the eyelash trim, the jar, Tiffany and Company jar, a flower, or a heart I mean, and a flower that were punched from coffee dyed patterned paper, the scallop book page. This one has that German font, rusty tag, rusty safety pin, and a calling card. So that's one set, and the other set has the same items that might vary slightly. This one has pink. I love it. And it is torn, but I like it. I like it that way. This is just a way to use up scraps that you have. This is the index card. So there you go. I didn't count the pieces. I'll put that in the listing. But I think these are fun, and they're pretty simple embellishments, but I have stamps that you might not have, and maybe you don't want to take the time to make these embellishments yourself. But anyway, I'm offering them if you want them, and if you don't, if nobody wants them, I'm just going to put them in my stash and use them, so no loss. So these will all be listed in my shop Saturday morning. I'll put the date in my description of this video also, okay? So I have to put in links to the two, where I got the ephemera, the flowers, where I got the flowers. Do I have to put any more links in? I don't think so. So those two links, and these will be in my shop Saturday morning, as I keep saying, by 10 o'clock. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching how these journals came together and how they got decorated and all of that. I had so much fun making them. And I will be back again before you know it with another project. Thank you again. Bye-bye.